Now I'm here to introduce a tool for your guys' toolkits here. So it's my privilege to welcome two industry experts to the stage with me to talk about foreign trade zones. First, we have Samantha Wagner, Head of Trade Compliance at Festo, who is responsible for all aspects of import and export compliance, as well as the foreign trade zones for Festo's Corporation US, including Regional Service Center in Mason, Ohio. And speaking of Mason, Ohio, we have Michele Blair, who leads short and long-term economic development focused on global business attraction. Michele leads the establishment of both the Mason Port Authority in 2005 and Mason Tech Elevator Program in 2012, scaling 20+ key industry startups, $150 million in venture and follow-on investments, and over 500 jobs. Michele also leads the development of the Mason BioHub. Chris Meyer, the Industrial Development Manager at the Port, who oversees the region's foreign trade zones, was not able to join us today due to a family fire. We will have a QR code at the end of the presentation here today that links to a GoFundMe page if you guys would like to make a donation. So thank you both for joining me today on stage. But to get us started, let's look at the screens to watch a quick video on FTZs.
Importing goods in high volumes or with high values can be time-consuming and very challenging. Foreign trade zones were created to expedite the process and to encourage foreign commerce here in the US. They can help overcome some of the challenges. So what exactly is a foreign trade zone, or FTZ? An FTZ is a dedicated geographic area where foreign and domestic goods are considered outside the customs territory of the US for purposes of duty payments. For many companies, this can simplify the customs process and lower costs, tariffs, and taxes. The savings on entry fees alone can be quite significant. What are the advantages of the FTZ program? FTZs are designed to make importing cost-efficient, easier, and faster. If your company imports high volume or high value products that are worth more than $3 million annually, or you receive over 500 shipments per year, go to gcftz.com for more information.
There are so many benefits to an FTZ, but exact benefits can be unique to each company and industry. In Foreign Trade Zones 46 and 47, manufacturers, machinery and equipment companies, and oil refiners are using the FTZ program. Manufacturing firms in the program can choose when the duty is applied with 3 options. The duty may be applied when products or parts are removed from the zone, or it can be applied to the individual parts before assembly, or the duty rate can be applied on the finished good. For manufacturers and distributors, one big advantage of the FTZ program is deferring duty payments until goods are ready to be consumed in the United States. Duty reduction, elimination, and deferral are the most common benefits for those businesses. This helps you choose the best duty rate for your purposes. For more information and to see 10 ways an FTZ can save your business money, go to gcftz.com.
Companies involved in FTZs see added tax benefits, have no time constraints on storage, have easier direct delivery options, improved inventory control, duty deferral on imported production equipment, and much more. What exactly can you do in an FTZ? You can assemble, sample, manufacture, salvage, repackage, mix, test, relabel, store, process, manipulate, and destroy. So you really can do a lot. In 2018, 10 companies with more than 15,000 employees have established FTZ operations in our 8-county Cincinnati region served by zones 46 and 47. Strong regional businesses make for a stronger region as a whole. Visit the website at gcftz.com to learn about the benefits of FTZs, use the savings calculator, and start your application.
So Samantha, to get us started, can you give us a quick elevator pitch, 30 seconds, of what an FTZ is?
Sure, I'd be glad to. And it's funny because I've seen this video a million times and I still find stuff every time I see it that I didn't remember.
Yeah.
So it's always good. So a foreign trade zone basically is a secured space that's really overseen by customs that is considered outside of the U.S. customs territory. So think, if you will, duty-free shops kind of in the airport or They're called free trade zones in other countries. So basically the goods can enter into the FTZs duty-free until they leave. And that is a huge, huge savings for companies that utilize them.
That's helpful. We have a slide that highlights, the top 10 industries that FTZs help. Why do these tend to be manufacturing industries? Is there any insight there?
There is. Industries that manufacture in foreign trade zones have the really great benefit of being able to figure out what makes more sense. Does it make more sense to pay the duty on the components that you're using to build your finished good, or is your finished good have a less tariff rate? So if you've got stuff, one of those is vehicle parts. So if you're building a car, and just say that those goods that are going into your car, maybe you're paying 10% of your value on your duty, and that car, when it leaves your zone, you're going to pay 2% on. Well, then you've got a great, way there to save a lot of money depending on what components you're using. There's just many, many benefits, and I think one of the next slides we can walk through what some of them are. Yeah, so the top 10 benefits, and everybody, like I said in the video, kind of has a different reason why they utilize a foreign trade zone. But I can tell you that the top 3 that are on there, duty deferral, duty reduction, and duty elimination, are going to be your 3 major ones no matter which company that you speak to. Because you can bring those goods into your zone, you can have them sit there for 4 months, 6 months, a year, 4 years, you're not going to pay anything on them until they leave. And that duty reduction, if you're going to be an exporter of those goods and you're shipping them in bond to other countries, you're not paying any duty on them. They're going to pass through the US like they were never here. And duty elimination is what we kind of talked about with those inverted tariffs. You can take the better of your components or your finished goods, but you also have the benefit in an FTZ of doing 1 weekly entry. So as your goods leave the zone, where normally as an importer you're going to pay every time you bring goods into the country, we can do 1 weekly entry. You're going to put all of your goods on that weekly entry, and then you have a cap on what you pay for certain fees on those entries. So it's a time saver for what you do. It's a benefit on not having to pay all of those merchandise processing fees, and it's just ease. The other ones, depends on the company. I can tell you zone-to-zone transfers happen to work very well if you want to bring in a large amount of product into one area and you don't know where you're going to use it. But maybe you've got a zone on the East Coast where it's easier to bring this stuff in, and then you've got a zone here in the Midwest or a zone on the West Coast. You can move that product whenever you need to. You're still not going to pay any duty when you move it. It's still not going to do anything until you use it. And inventory and reporting, for us and for many companies, it makes you tighten up your processes. Because in order to be a foreign trade zone and deal with customs, you've got to have a really tight ship running. And I think a lot of companies kind of welcome having that need to have those things be tight. And so it really makes other things work very well for them.
That's good. So ease and saving money, all good things. Michele, I know that we talked about how important it is that this is such a great asset that the region has 2 foreign trade zones. And as economic developers, when we're talking to foreign companies, we're talking about foreign direct investment, this is really a tool in our tool belt. So can you talk about why it's important for economic developers to know about foreign trade zones and maybe some of the questions we should be asking companies?
Well, first of all, can you hear me okay? The video was fantastic, so you probably learned almost everything that you...
That's a really nice video. And we're so lucky to have Samantha here, who has joined the Foreign Trade Zone board. And I'm certain we have some other, as I look around the room, are there other Foreign Trade Zone board members in the room that are not seeing? Yeah, and we have a really great variety of people across industries, from banking to distribution and commercial real estate and pharmaceuticals. And Samantha, who represents Festo, which is a pneumatic and automation company that moved here in 2014. We opened, but during that decision-making process in 2012, I think we met in 2012, one of the criteria that had to be in place for Festo to select this region was that we had a very professional and well-run foreign trade zone. That's not always in the rubric of what has to be here in this region to win a project. But we learned that with Festo, and I'm certain that there are many others out there and probably will be growing, that we were one of probably 15 regions that Festo was considering. Then we had a recession, being a good German company. They kind of called off that relocation and then came back in 2012 to further vet. They had narrowed it to 3 regions, and by the time we were ready to actually have a decision made, they had narrowed it to this region. And I would say that probably one of the top 3 reasons that the city or the Greater Cincinnati region stayed in the running was because at the time we had a very knowledgeable foreign trade zone staff. And today the port graciously is our contract agent and continues to put the time and effort and training the staff and some of the board members to just really be knowledgeable. So it's really a tool that we don't talk a lot about, but it's really critical. We actually went to Long Island, we visited your operations and talked with Samantha. We've known each other for quite a long time, and then when she joined the board, it's been great for our region as well, because you'll go out and you'll talk to companies that are considering it. So that's thank you, Samantha, and I mean, you can tell that you live, eat, breathe foreign trade zone, and for Festo that continues to expand. But I think, I know I'm on the board of the Foreign Trade Zone, I'm not always thinking about it. It's super nice to see this video and just to really, give some light to remember that it's out there. Remember that, our Foreign Trade Zone in the Greater Cincinnati area is one of the most active in the country. We are number 10 and number 11 in terms of activity in the United States. It's, we have a lot of those little known facts in Greater Cincinnati that we do things really well. And we're in the top 25 consistently in the diversity of activity. And that's Kentucky and Ohio, so it's ranked by state, so it's a nice regional tool that we have to offer. But it's definitely something that if you're in economic development, please just think, remember that, put that on your list. If you're in an industry sector that may benefit from it, this website has a calculator. You can plug some numbers in. You can look at the savings. Samantha's helped us, improve make sure that those things are in there, as well as the Rockefeller Group. And I know Jamie's in the room as well with the board also that helps us with the foreign trades. And I thought she was.
Yeah. There she is. She's here.
And Chris Meyer is exceptionally knowledgeable. So all of those people are available for you to talk a little bit more about it if you're in economic development. Also, the Foreign Trade Zone has a lot of interactivity with companies that sometimes you don't even know about. So just develop that relationship, learn about it a little bit more, and hopefully be a great tool to help drive more business.
Thank you. So the website is up on the slide, gcftz.com. It has the calculator on there that you guys can find some of those resources. This slide here shows a bunch of the companies here in the region that are using the 2 foreign trade zones. Of course, you see Festo up there. Samantha, I was hoping you could kind of tell us what that discovery looked like for Festo, why foreign trade zones were important to you guys, how it's helped with your growth.
I'd be glad to. So Festo has actually been a foreign trade zone even before we came and joined the Cincinnati area. We started in New York in 2005, and one of the main reasons that Festo looked at it was we were really becoming the regional service center for North America, which meant we were going to be handling our sister companies in Canada and Mexico. And one of the benefits for the foreign trade zone is if you are shipping parts that you're just moving through your zone, and you ship them in bond to those countries, well then there's your duty deferral. You don't have to pay the duty on those parts that move in bond. So for Festo, that was an immediate kind of thing to make them come back and say, hey, if we can save all that money, then it's probably worth looking into. And then when we started looking into it, you also realize the other benefits, like I was telling you, about like weekly entries. So for Festo, we bring in quite a few shipments a month. We're probably doing about 200 shipments a month. Well, to pay all that money and do all that administrative entry on 200 shipments a month is kind of crazy, but if you could do 4, 1 a week, well, then that's a win. And so we kept finding more and more things as we started to look into it. And I think for us, it was, as Michele said, extremely important. That was a big part of where we moved in the country, was we had to be able to start up the foreign trade zone again. We had to have a partner who was kind of more experienced and had an idea of how that worked, and we have that in Cincinnati. And I think the other thing we've realized over the years is as you have these supply chain issues, kind of what we're seeing now and what we've seen during COVID, the FTZs really make it a little bit easier. You can have direct delivery, so our stuff's not sitting anywhere, it's not being looked at the port. It's going to come in, we're going to do our paperwork, it's going to move to the zone. And I think that has really helped us to stay in the running, when people were really having supply chain issues. We were still able to get our stuff in. Maybe we had some issues and it took a little bit longer, but we were still in a much better position than some other companies. And I know that is the same for some of the other zones that we have up there. I know Valbruna, they were definitely what we were talking about with zone-to-zone transfers. That was a big deal for them, was to be able to move their stuff from their other sites to the FTZ, here in this area.
That's great. So as we wrap this segment up here, Michele, are there 3 key takeaways that you think we should leave the board members with?
Well, I think FTZ, I have 3 words.
3 letters, there you go.
So one, remember we're one of the top FTZs in the country. 2, $3 million of imports or more. That's kind of a key, you might ask that question. Is it $3 million or more that you import annually? And also, that website is a great resource. So get to know your local FTZ as a resource. We'll see if you remember that at the next board meeting.
Fantastic, guys. Well, perfect. Does anyone have any questions? I think we have about a minute or so. If anyone has a question they'd like to ask the panel here. No? All right. Well, it's my pleasure to introduce George Vincent back to the stage here to talk about financials. Thank you guys so much.